Welcome to all our change makers as we come to you with another inspiring interview today. And we're so excited to be able to welcome Miss Shakedra to the stage today. She is very involved in helping more people to find that resilience within. So please tell our viewers a little bit about you and what you do and what makes you so amazing.
What makes me so amazing is I would say I am a child and follower of God. I am an author of A Life Fulfilled 7 Strategies to Pivot Your Mindset from Lack to Abundance, and founder of Resilience to Brilliance LLC. And with Resilience to Brilliance, the belief is that we are meant to surpass our resilience and live in our brilliance. And so, what I do is help people use those trials to overcome and tap into their highest potential and live from making purpose from the pain.
Ooh, that's a powerful statement. Making purpose from the pain. And there's so many people who are working hard to do that these days. So that kind of leads to another great question because what in your life, what events or things did you notice that have inspired you to be this promoter of resilience and brilliance?
I would say I believe this is the case with everyone, but for myself specifically, taking notice to the events that happened in my younger years, and my parents divorced when I was 12 years old.
Mm.
So the dynamics of our family changed, and I stayed with my mom. It was my mom and my younger brother, and just watching her um, struggle with the challenges that came from being a single parent, and
Mm.
me just stepping in to be support to her as she navigated those changes. But ultimately, seeing her finding her footing was my first example of witnessing someone being resilient.
Mm.
But I also realized that living in resilience is survival mode. And
Mm.
so recently, after living decades in my resilience, I saw the need to, I mean, I I had lived in resilience for decades, but still young enough to realize I still had a ways to go in life, God willing. And
Mhm.
I needed a reset. And with that was me just taking some time to process all of the trauma that I had experienced. I did seek therapy, and so I had a therapist who helped me through the processing. And I also journaled, and so the journals turned into the book that is a life
Mhm.
fulfilled.
Nice, nice. Wow, so you've made some powerful correlations there with the idea that resilience is important, but it still oftentimes kind of leaves you in that survival place, and your goal is to help people to move into the brilliance, which is much more about abundance. Did I get it right?
That is absolutely right. Abundance is understanding. Well, there's a couple of things. A Life Fulfilled, the book, is about um, changing from a mindset of scarcity or lack into abundance and worthiness, believing that you deserve better. And so when we are living in resilience, we understand that we can overcome, but we're always waiting for that next derailment to happen.
Mm.
When you live in abundance, you understand that everything has a purpose. And so when you have those low lows, you will navigate them differently, understanding that there is a purpose in that, and then you'll be looking for the lesson and how to build from it rather than letting it break you down.
Oh, wow. That's powerful right there for sure because yeah, when we can take every challenge and be able to look at it as an opportunity for learning, experiencing, and then you're able to pay it forward with that new knowledge, that's a powerful place to be in. For sure. So you're doing speaking kinds of things right now. Are you working mostly with young people or does your customer base, so to speak, go wider than that?
There's two pieces to it. As I'm promoting the book, the speaking engagements are mostly centered around the book and my story in
Mm,
that way. But I also am contracted with an organization, Rooted Strategy, and the founder and CEO, the founder and president is Catherine Evans. And so
mhm,
we've been working on community engagements,
mm,
and the project we're working now, again, I mentioned before that giving back to my community where I was born and raised in Kansas City, Kansas, has been a promise to myself since high school. So I've been doing work focused in Wyandotte County just to pour into my community with the knowledge and experience that I've had throughout my life. I've lived on the East Coast and I'm back here, and so we did a major project last year, connecting the dots for positive childhood experiences,
mm,
and and now we're working with the Community Health Council on connecting the community, connecting the organization with partnerships and resources to really provide what the community needs. And so we've involved community members, youth, and parents
mm,
in that process to be able to understand what is needed. So that benefits me on a personal level when I am doing these speaking engagements because I have that extra insight from these community engagement experiences to be able to really pour into those I speak to.
wow, okay. And so the speaking is there, but I think I heard you tell me before that there's also some coaching going on there. So is
Absolutely.
that mostly with parents that you're starting to work with, or tell us a little more about that?
It's not restricted. I would say that women are most drawn to my knowledge and want to, connect and have those coaching opportunities. And so women and then young women in particular, because I spoke at beauty academies and spaces where it is majority young women. And I say that I wrote the book for my 12-year-old self. And so, in a sense, just the young women in general are my audience. But yeah, when it comes to coaching, the framework applies to a human. If you've had experience and you want to know, okay, I've had these bad things, how can I turn around? How can I change my mindset? Then I am able to help you guide through that process.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, you said your book includes 7 strategies. Do you have a favorite strategy in there that you care to share?
Absolutely. It starts with chapter 1. Be mindful of what you put in your body. And
Mm.
that is just basic. Um, it speaks for itself. What we put into our body has an effect on everything. And after some health issues of my own, I had really high cholesterol in my early 20s. And if I didn't turn things around at that point, I don't know if I would be here today. And so, just that connection. This is the chapter that I've invested most in throughout my life. This was the start of the um, change in direction in my life path. And so it is all about what you put in your body. There's also a component in there that explains um, our blood types influence how our body processes what we eat. And so there are some foods that act as medicine to some and act as poison to others.
Wow.
And so just that those pieces, diets have been a fad my entire life. When I was young, I'd hear family members, aunts, "Oh, I'm on a diet." Um, everybody is on a diet. It's what you're eating that makes your diet. And so just being mindful of what your diet is comprised of and how foods have the power to act as medicine and getting as much of those into our body to nourish our brain because it's all connected. Our gut and our brain are all connected. So that's my favorite.
Wow. Well, it sounds like you've been doing research for a while on all of these things. And the other thing is, and most people may not think about this, but it sounds like your prescription for resilience and brilliance has a lot to do with understanding the connection between body and mind and spirit. Is that a good assumption?
That's perfect. Yes, it's a holistic approach. It is those three things. That's all you need to focus on. And we get distracted with our phones or life. We just get distracted, and it's easy to do and kind of set up that way. But being able to narrow it down to these seven things um, turn things around for me. I do say that um, I would add an eighth chapter. It would be community or the importance of relationships. So maybe
Mm.
that'll be the next book. But uh,
The
that's
updated edition, right?
yeah, yeah,
Wow, wow. Well, and I'm glad to hear you say that because I think that is something that we all need to pay more attention to these days. There's such a difference between people coming together, especially in person, and being in community together versus whatever it is that we end up doing on these things all the time, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's absolutely imperative, and unfortunately, especially with our young people, we know the pandemic messed with them in a lot of ways. They didn't get to socialize the way that they really needed to. They didn't get to, we all became dependent on staring at screens all day, every day. So, I know that the work you're doing is definitely important, and I applaud you for your efforts so far. So what does the future look like in your mind? I mean, I know that you're doing your best to kind of follow your guidance from your creator, and maybe he hasn't given you the big picture yet. I know for me it always comes a little piece at a time, but do you have any thoughts about where your work might go 5 years from now?
What I envision is a community where youth have access to arts and agriculture, really being able to uh, have have everything they need in their community and working together to fuel that community, just
Mm,
keeping it going in a where everybody feels like family, where we have spaces where everybody is welcome, everyone feels welcome, and able to contribute their own personal gifts towards building and sustaining this community. And me personally, I would like to have a home with a garden and still writing books that are helping people along the way. And that's it. It is what you say. I try not to look. I understand the bigger picture so that it'll be familiar when I get to it, but
Right.
it's step by step. And so the step I'm on now, that's what I see is a youth empowered and fueled community
Mm.
working to sustain that.
Wow, I love that. So here's a question that pops into my mind because I've seen how this can really light up a youth community. Is there anything in your plans or your vision about helping young people to learn something about entrepreneurship?
Oh, definitely. I speak about that now, and I started out with the derailment, which was seventh grade year. That's when my parents divorced, and so my life changed at that point. And seventh grade year was a horror for me. I rarely went to school. I flunked the first semester for sure,
Mm,
just from non-attendance. But by high school, I had adjusted enough to understand that I was responsible for my life
mhm,
and that my parents had given me everything I needed to make it in the world. And so I took ownership of that and um, actively participated in engagements that would build my future. And
mhm.
so, because of that, then I am able to now today stand as a business owner. And so it doesn't look like, nothing is wasted. It all builds towards something greater. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, well, I'm glad to hear that because, a lot of our young people, in fact, it horrifies me sometimes when I think about it because I've taught in homeless shelters, I've taught in prisons, and I mean I had a gentleman break down and cry in a prison one time, telling me that if I had been in his high school teaching him how to be a legal entrepreneur, he wouldn't be sitting in that prison now. And that to me is one of the saddest things that I've ever encountered because I personally believe if we were made in the image and likeness of a creator, then we were designed to create. And
Mm.
so I know you mentioned the arts, and that's a very good piece of creation for our young people. Music is a good kind of creation, but so is entrepreneurship.
Absolutely. That is, um, yeah, I teach people that through the coaching piece of it, we all are CEOs of our lives. Our life is our first business. And so if
Yes.
we take that approach, then we can kind of plug in those other pieces and understand how it all works together.
That's it. That's it. Wow. Well, so if anybody wanted to get in touch with you, what's the best way to find you?
I have a website, Resilience to Brilliance LLC. I can be contacted there. And on that page is a link to email me if you are interested in inviting me to speak or if you want to order books. And all of my social medias are also on that page. I also have a Facebook page for Resilience to Brilliance and can be contacted there.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I always invite folks once we get your recording up in my Facebook group and on my YouTube channel, you're also welcome to put all of that in the comments so that people can find you more easily. So, I guess to wrap this up, I'm really kind of curious. Do you have any words of wisdom you'd like to leave people with today?
Sure. The words of wisdom are uh, I would say I'm a spiritual person.
Mm,
And I never read the Bible, but in high school I read Proverbs, and that has stuck with me. And so my favorite verse, and I actually open it in the book, is Proverbs 4:23, and it
mhm,
is keep your heart with diligence, for it flows the springs of life. And
mm,
that is just understanding that the heart is our life source and everything we do affects its ability to continue pumping blood through our body. And so it's important to uh, guard our hearts and live from our hearts.
Mm, keeping the heart open has become a challenge for a lot of folks. So, yes, we understand when people are hurt, they kind of shut it down. But boy, to lock it down and not let anybody in, not a good thing.
Yeah,
So, those are very wise words to leave us with today. So we thank you so much for being with us here today, Shakidra. And I encourage people in this group, check out the folks who are here, see if there's anybody that you feel kind of resonates with you that maybe you should be reaching out to, because I'm a big believer in collaboration. And that actually was
uh,
the reason that this group was created. Because, I love the old African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together.
I love
So we need to be pulling more people together to be able to go further into creating whatever that version of heaven on earth is supposed to look like.
love that. I love that. Thank you so much for this opportunity
Yeah,
and creating these spaces for collaboration.
absolutely. And thank you for taking time to be with us here today. So we thank you, all of our change makers, for listening in, viewing in, and we'll see you in the next interview. So have an amazing rest of your day.